What's up guys, PDC here, and today I'm finally going to be commentating over my Smogon Tour Semifinals game versus none other than McMeghan, one of the best players of the current era and of all time. The guy already has a Smogon Tour trophy under his belt, and he's going for another one. This season McMeghan has been using some odd stuff. As you can tell, this is not your typical black and white team. This is rather unorthodox, although it may not seem so from some of the months. It's a little more standard than some of the other things that he's used. But you have the random Doug trio. I assume that's for trapping stuff like STour for Uniclus. The Scarm could be Kustap. Rotom Wash could be some weird set. STour, probably going to be regular bulky. Just looking at his team, it is a little more standard, a little more tame, but it's obvious that McMeghan probably has a couple tricks up his sleeve, considering how creative he is in building. Now, the team I'm going to be using is actually a lot more offensive. It is a black and white offense team that we actually built the night before. I have the kind of standard black and white offense formula with some really threatening Pokemon in Volcarona, Garchomp, Latios, and Life Orb Starmie. And I also have a Terrakion set, which is actually really cool, but I don't think I'm going to be revealing that today. But anyway, we're just going to start the game off. I'm going to be leading with my Rocker, my Inertia Creeps, my Garchomp. Everything on my team is shiny. And he's going to go ahead and lead with his Reuniclus. Now, I go ahead and set up Rocks up, not fearing anything, but turns out this guy is actually going to be tricking me a Flame Orb. Well, he receives a Rocky Helmet, which is actually really, really annoying, because now, anytime I try to hit him with a physical attack, he is going to damage me. I just decided to Swords Dance up here, and he's going to go for the Calm Mind. Now, even though I'm burnt, if I manage to get the +4, I can still be pretty threatening to everything bar Skarmory. So I'm not necessarily in a terrible position. I would have liked Chomp to not be burnt, but really, what are you really going to do? He's going to Side Shock me, and at this point, it doesn't really matter. Chomp isn't going to be doing that much later in the game. It's burnt. I'm just going to go ahead and fire off an Outrage at this point, since there's really no point not. I was really hoping that he would stay in for some stupid reason, but obviously he's not going to. I actually go over the Earthquake here first, Tempting Fate. I didn't want Outrage right off the bat, which I think might have been kind of stupid, but whatever, it doesn't matter that much. I just decided to go for the switch here and now save Chomp as a sacrifice, or the Death Fodder, which is good on my part. I decided to go to my Dissolve Girl, the Starmie, as he goes for the Spikes. I still believe that it's possible the Skarmory could be a Kustap version, since McMeghan likes to use random Kustap mons. And he's going to go to Rotom Wash here as I decide to fire off a Hydro Pump, Boosted Analytic. Now, the Pump is going to do a decent amount of Rotom Wash, which is good. Weakening something like this is always nice. It's not going to be able to take one of those again on the switch, so it's in the danger zone at this point. I find this as a perfect opportunity to just sacrifice my Garchomp and make sure he doesn't gain any momentum, and I can switch in my Latios or something like that to Draco Meteorite. So, he decides to Volt Switch. Obviously, it's going to be blocked by the Garchomp, so it was good that I kept it instead of just straight up outraging and keeping it as a sacrifice. And I started to go to my Teardrop, my massive attack nicknames off of Mezzanine. And I just decide to go ahead, and I believe I fire off a Draco Meteor here, and he's going to go out to his Skarmory. I go for the Draco, and since Skarmory doesn't take that much, it's obvious to see that it isn't indeed not a Kustap Skarm. Kustap Skarmory probably would have just died there. He's going to let it die, though, to the HP Fire. I guess he thought that I didn't have it or something like that, or he just decided it wasn't worth going to T-Tar there because it may have been a more frail variant, or maybe he thought I had Earthquake or something because I do have Volcarona on my side. So it is plausible that I do have an Earthquake Latios. That's actually a strategy I should use at some point. But I just decided to go ahead and switch out here. I thought it was possible he didn't have Pursuit, but he does indeed. I'm going to decide to go to my Terrakion here, my Rising Sun. Interesting set I actually have here. This is actually a Swords Dance Quick Attack variant, and I decided to go for the +1 there. Now, I was actually really stupid, and I want to tell you guys why. I could have won the game right here, no questions asked. But instead of deciding the Swords Dance for a second time, which was really a dumb move on my part, how I did not Swords Dance, because he didn't even have a move to touch me, I decided to go for the Close Combat and play it safe. If I Swords Dance a second time there, that game could have been it. I go for the Stone Edge, and sadly it does miss. Now, once again, I could have won the game at this point as well, because I had a secret item up my sleeve. But I should have Swords Danced twice again. That would have been much better than just straight up going for a Stone Edge. So that's kind of a blunder on my part. He's going to go out to Dugtrio here, and as you guys will see, I actually do have the quick attack, so if I got the +4, it actually would have killed the Dugtrio, but that was a really, really bad choke on my part. So that was pretty bad. That was a horrible play, really. I'm going to go to my Mezzanine, my Jirachi here, and he's going to go ahead and switch out and go to STour. Now, you may be wondering, why is he switching this in to a Jirachi? Well, this is to reassure that he keeps rocks on the field no matter what. Now, it would have probably been maybe a little smarter to straight up Iron Head there, or just instead straight up go to Starmie and just go for the spin. Although I don't remember if I lived Earthquake or not, actually. I might not have, judging by how I didn't go Starmie there. I'm just going to spin to get rid of the spikes here, and obviously he's going to keep the rocks up on the field. There's no questions about that, because I cannot spin those away. So this pretty much means unless I manage to somehow get a spin later in the game, rocks are going to be kept on the field, and he's done, and I'm going to be able to not prevent that at all, considering he has a Dugtrio to now trap me, which is pretty annoying, but whatever. It doesn't matter too much, I guess, because I still have one hope in my arsenal, and that's a Jirachi. Volcarona, it can still be a kind of a threat, but considering I actually lack Bug Buzz, I'm not going to be breaking through Latias anytime soon, and it's going to be able to kill me before I get able to kill it anyway. So I go to my Mezzanine, my Jirachi here, and I just decide to go for I believe I go for the Iron Head here. I just really go on the whole spree of flinching everything to death, as you guys can see. I am hoping that I am going to be able to beat him through this, and I'm going to speed this up a bit here, because this is a pretty exciting moment. I flinch him, and he gets flinched again. I'm really sitting here just dumbfounded that I'm really surprised I'm actually doing this. I flinch him again, and Rotom Wash, as you can see, I'm getting more and more excited with every passing turn. I keep getting the flinches, and if I get one more flinch, then I win this game. So I'm absolutely ecstatic here. Sadly, however, he manages to get the Wisp on the very last flinch needed, and that kind of screws me over. So the game's going to be it. That's going to be the game. I'm not going to be able to beat this Rotom Wash. And I get the flinch the next time, but it doesn't matter. All he needed was that one more flinch, but sadly I didn't get it. Although then again, the luck was kind of bad. I should have probably went to Volk at some point and maybe scared it off or something, because it did Wisp instead of Pain Split. So if I went Volk on one of those, I would have got the extra rock damage and probably could have just needed one or even less flinches to actually kill it. That's something I should have done. That was a dumb risk on my part. Although, to be fair, I thought it would Pain Split. But as you're going to see, I'm not going to be able to break through this Latias unless I get a number of crits and flinches in a row. If I get a crit here, I actually could have won, which is kind of disheartening, because now he's just going to be able to trap the Volcarona. But, yeah, that's going to be the game, guys. I'm not going to be able to pull this one out of my hat, sadly. But as you can tell, I did fight pretty hard, or at least as hard as I could with the team. I did choke quite a bit, and I really wish that I Swords Dance the second time, because I actually would have won straight up there, considering his Latias was just a sub-com mine. But what are you going to do? So, basically, that was the first game under the belt, and now we're going to go ahead and go to our second game, the Oras OU series. Not series, game. So, me versus McMeghan, Game 2. Now, right from the bat, you can tell that I'm using some ordinary, boring balance. I did like this team, though. I thought it was pretty cool. The Venusaur, Excadrill, Scarm, typical kind of balance with a twist. It has Calm Mind, Latios, and some interesting set from STour, so that's kind of cool. And McMeghan is also using not that much of a stray team. He's using, looks like, to be Charizard Y balance with Keldeo, Pursuiter, and Life Orb Alakazam, probably, and Excadrill for spinning and stuff like that. The Clef could be Calm Mind or Stealth Rock, probably Stealth Rock, considering it's most likely Scarftar on his team. So, he's actually going to lead with his Alakazam. I assume maybe he predicted me to lead with my Keldeo or his my Venusaur or something of that order, but instead I'm just going to lead with my Tyranitar. He goes for the Focus Blast, and I am actually Choppleberry, and I actually have Pursuit on this thing. So as he Focus Blast, I'm going to get a kill on the Alakazam, Balance Threat number 1, turn 1. Well, actually not number 1. Number 1 is going to actually be the Charizard Y, which is incredibly hard to deal with, and I really hate dealing with it. especially when you're running a slower balance team, which doesn't exactly have a way to defeat this thing reliably. Latios is a switch into it, but it really hates facing Tyranitar or Clef. If I did manage to kill the Pursuiter, that would be nice, but that is incredibly hard to do when it's just a complete automatic kill on the Latios. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out here to my Tyranitar back, and McMeghan is going to go ahead and switch out as well and go into his own T-Tar. Now, I was a little worried here about this. He goes to the Stone Edge and he actually misses, which is really good for me because this means I can get up my own Stealth Rocks and pressure the Charizard wide. That is pretty unlucky for him, for that he missed the Stone Edge. That definitely would have killed me. He's going to go to his Excadrill here with his Balloon, and I decide to go out to my Excadrill of my own here. Now, he has the Balloon, so he has the advantage here. I'm going to be forced to switch out into probably my Skarmory here, because I don't really have a great switch for this thing. He's going to be able to get rid of the Stealth Rocks, which is kind of annoying, because now I don't have a way to pressure the Zard anymore, and with that T-Tar on Latios' heels, I'm not going to be able to counter it and switch into it for very long without being pursued. So, he has a pretty free switch here back to Charizard Y, or T-Tar if he pleases. He's going to go to T-Tar here, actually, and I'm going to go ahead and go for the Whirlwind. Now, sadly, this actually brings out the one Pokemon that I don't want it to, which is Charizard Y. Big surprise. Now, he's going to go ahead and switch out here and go out to his Tyranitar. Now, I decide to go for the switch to instead my T-Tar, because I figured he would try something like this, and I didn't want Latios to be pursued. And then I decided to switch out once again and go out to my Skarm here. I thought he was Choice Scarf, but as it turns out, from the Stone Edge, that is almost definitely Choice Band. So although I am faster than it and I am not going to lose to a double Stone Edge, this is still going to be pretty annoying and hard to take on, because I'm sure, as you all know, Chibi Tyranitar in a metagame where Dark has been buffed is incredibly hard to deal with. It absolutely blows through Steel, so Skarmory is not going to have a fun time switching in. So he's going to go out to his Zard Y as I go out to my Excadrill. I do not have Rock Slide on Exca, so I'm going to switch out and go out to my Tyranitar. My really only hope here is that he somehow manages to miss a Focus Blast, which he decides to go for and just completely destroys my T-Tar out of the blue. So that's not good for me at all. With T-Tar dead, I lose my ability to put up my own sand, and I also lose my ability to put up rocks. I go out to my Keldeo here, and I believe I just decided to go for the Hydro Pump here. I was debating on going for the Secret Sword, but I figured Hydro Pump might have just been the best way to go for. I go for the Pump twice, actually, because I figured it was possible that he would expect me to double, and if he went to Zard here, that would have been an incredibly helpful catch, but sadly I am not granted that, and he's going to go ahead and Secret Sword me. I believe that's modest Scarf damage, because the specs I think would have done about 70. So I was a bit worried. I think it actually bled into the Timid range, which is why I switched out here, and I decided to go out to my Venusaur. So, Venusaur is going to take the Sacred Sword comfortably. This is actually a more offensive Venusaur from what I remember, so it's not going to be giving Charizard Y a completely free switch, and Sludge Bomb is going to be doing, I believe, just over 50, which is really helpful to me. So, he's going to go out to his Zard here. No surprises. I believe I just decided to go for the Mega here, and I think I go for the Sludge Bomb if I'm correct. Actually, no, I go for the Synthesis to heal up. Synthesis is actually not a bad play, because this means I can at least take on Keldeo, Excadrill, Clef, T-Tar a bit more reliably. I decided to go to my Latios here as he goes ahead and goes for the Flamethrower. As you can tell, Latios is not a very good counter to the Charizard, especially when coupled with T-Tar. It's basically forced to roost every single turn, and I don't even think it can OHKO it with something like, yeah, I don't think it can even OHKO it at all, which is kind of bad. Now, I go for the Calm Mind here, and I actually was kind of desperate here. I go for the Recover. I kind of expected McMeghan to switch out here, but of course he doesn't, and I really, really fucked up. If I Draco Meteor there, this game could have been different. The Recover, I was expecting him to go for a play. I believe if I expected him to go to the Clef there and kill him with sand damage, because Clef was basically useless, but Meg makes a good play and just decides to crunch me. The Draco Meteor on a light CBTAR, I believe, would have done about 60 to 70%. I'm not quite sure at +1. But I'm going to go out to my Excadrill here. He's going to go ahead and switch out, and he is going to go out to his Clef. Now, this is an interesting Clef, if you guys didn't notice. Look at this. it is actually choice slash clefable. I mean, not choice, focus slash clefable. So, interesting set to say the least. I do manage to kill it, and I guess that would be his rocker. I find that a little odd, but whatever. I'm not complaining that I just managed to kill one of his Pokemon, and he's gonna go out to his Charizard Y. Now here is where things get a little interesting. Turns out I'm faster than it, and it also turns out I managed to flinch it. So now we kind of go into this flinching game where, trust me, I'm not sorry at all. I'm sorry, McMeghan, but if I manage to flinch him enough times, this game is essentially going to be over. I managed to get a flinch there, and he decides to go to his Excadrill here. I go for the Iron Head. I break his balloon, so now he's susceptible to Earthquake. I decide to go for it, but turns out we're both jolly, and he managed to win the speed tie. If I won that speed tie there, then I won the game. Now when I think about it, I probably could have switched out there, but I decided not to, thinking that he would have been adamant. But as it turns out, he is going to be following the CBB preaching book, and he's going to go for the speedy nature, which I am as well. So he won the speed tie there, but I'm not really complaining considering I just flinched his Charizard like 2 times in the last 3 turns. I'm going to go for the Keldeo here and just decided to go for the Sacred Sword. If you're wondering why I didn't go for Scald, it's because, or Hydro Pump, I believe because what I was thinking was if I went for the pump there, it would not have killed the Tyranitar, and that would mean that it can pursue me since it's Choice Band and kill me, so I had to go for it here. He actually manages to live the Sacred Sword just barely, and that absolutely crushes my dreams. If I managed to kill the Charizard here, then it would have been over. I would have won the game, but sadly, I could not have done it, and that kind of put my game on for shame. He flamethrowers me and kills me, and at this point, I realize, yeah, this is essentially over. I can't win. Even though flamethrower is not going to be able to kill me, I don't really have a way to beat his T-Tar with Venusaur. Now, like I said, it's possible if I Draco Meteored, I could have won this game, which just makes it even more of a beating in the ass that I lost this game. So it's kind of sucky that I actually threw this. If I Draco there, that T-Tar would have been dead to that Giga Drain. Although then again, I guess he could have pulled some strings or made some plays so that he didn't die. Although then again, I think I could have probably still won regardless if I managed to Draco Meteor T-Tar. So I didn't make the best plays this game, guys, and that kind of cost me. And as you're going to tell, I'm just going to go for the Spike here, hoping that for some miracle I can manage to Whirlwind his team to death. But obviously that's not going to happen. So I am going to lose, guys, and that's going to be it. So anyway, I did manage to get eliminated in the semifinals due to rather shoddy play, which I later correct throughout my videos. If only I played both these games better, I believe I could have come out victorious, but sadly, that was not the case. These are the only 2 games played in the series, and that is going to be it. So, luckily, I finally was able to finish this series of uploads for my Smogon Tour games, and now my SPL game series is coming back, as SPL season is in full effect. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, like, subscribe, and all that stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next one.